Hey everyone, in this video I want to compare the 6.8 SPC, the 6 ARC, the 6.5 Grendel, and the 2.24 Valkyrie. I've seen a lot of videos and research around YouTube and other places, but I've never seen somebody that just gives me what I want to see in a table, and then you can make your own decision on what is best and what suits you. So that's my goal. Right here you can see the velocity. I pulled velocities from factory loading by Hornady. You can see the 6.8 SPC, it didn't have the ELDM, but others I primarily chose the ELDM because I thought it gave it a pretty good BC and a pretty good representation of what they're capable of. When looking at the velocity, we can see that the 6 ARC and the 2.24 Valkyrie are very close and that they are going to carry the most velocity throughout the next 1,000 yards. Picked 1,000 yards because it's a long ways. It's usually this pinnacle of can you shoot 1,000 yards, and I've actually ran numbers out to 2,000 just because it shows the biggest difference, but I'm not going to focus on that in the visual. What these different colors mean is 2,000 is typically where a monolithic bullet functions at its lowest velocity, but these aren't monolithic. It's just 2,000 feet per second is a standard that people like to look at. The ELDM, I've seen places where they still will function, they'll still smash, fragment, whatever, down to 13 to 1,400 feet per second. So I've picked 1,400, which is its limit, and then where it goes subsonic at 1,050 feet and below. With this graph, we see that the 6 ARC and the 2.24 Valkyrie are very similar. They have close velocities and close BCs. So out to 1,000 yards, they're almost identical. It's pretty much a wash between velocity and BC if you're looking at these two cartridges. The difference is going to be when we go to look at energy. Here we can see the different energy between these bullets. The 6.8 SPC, still not very interesting, low energy for being a heavier bullet, and it doesn't carry energy very far. The different coloration in this table is when it drops below 1,000 feet per second, which is a good benchmark for lethality on deer. But in reality, I don't think that that's set in stone. I would like to see a little bit of energy for hunting or for impact on targets to be able to get a response. So below 750 feet per second is when it goes into the yellow. That being said, the 6 ARC carries the most energy, even above the 6.5 Grendel, which is pretty decent BC, average speed, average weight, and the 2.24 Valkyrie just doesn't carry very much weight. The graph, we see that the 6.5 Grendel and the 6 ARC are very, very close from the beginning, but with the better ballistic coefficient from the 6 ARC, you get out to a little bit of range and it outperforms. So it outperformed in velocity. The 6 ARC also outperformed all the rest in energy. Instead of looking at drop, I look at windage because most scopes nowadays you dial. You can either dial, you can hold over. It's really easy to compensate for drop, and that's not something that I'm really worried about when we're comparing these 4 cartridges. Unless you're looking at point blank range and you need really flat trajectory, windage is the biggest concern. It's going to be the hardest thing to account for. What we can see is the 6 ARC and the 2.24 Valkyrie cover each other all the way out to 1,000 yards. That means their ballistic coefficient is very close. Their speeds are also very close. The 6.5 Grendel doesn't have quite the same ballistic coefficient, and therefore windage is going to be harder to compensate for. You can still try to measure wind, and with plenty of practice, it's not a problem, but it's something to keep in mind. When I look at the 4, I think that the 6 ARC stands out to me. It carries the best velocity, it carries the best windage and energy all in one package. Between these 4 cartridges, let me know what you would pick and what you're using it for. What do you want to see? Is there something that I missed, or is there something that we haven't considered yet? I'll see you in the next video.